Good afternoon, everyone. Um, we all have been talking about the great retail story for last 2 years, and most of us all are actually taking larger targets in terms of expanding ourselves into the country. Most of us have taken targets of about doubling our stores. If not doubling, we have taken the targets of adding 25, 35 stores per annum, which is about 2 to 3 stores per month. Now, having said that, I think the challenge is that are we able to deliver the stores on time? And the question is, are we ready for it? Now, a lot of times what happens is we do sign the stores, and that's the panel discussion which we are going to go ahead and do. The story of retail so far in last 2 years has been great. We are all on our toes and happily enjoying it. At the same time, this problem is there and we need to address that. Now we need to understand whether the problem is in the supply chain or the problem of the situation of bottleneck where the flow becomes literally slow. Having said that, at the same time we see hundreds of malls coming up, and most of them are opening without cinema, half of the food courts, many blocks even on the ground floor not even leased out, and if it is leased out, it is there's no clarity in plan of action. Now, in certain situations, few retailers are actually struggling to meet their daily trading density. And the conversation goes around between the mall and the retailer about the pure revenue share because they have opened with the time, but there is no trading happening, or rental discount. And this goes here and there. And then finally, the retailer decides not to open the future projects on time. So it's a vicious cycle, a story of a chicken and egg kind of situation. So having said that, I would like to go ahead and start this panel. In this session, we would be looking at the point of view from both the sides, the retailer as well as the mall developers. I would like to start with Lokesh from Benetton. Lokesh, what do you think is the situation right now, and what is your point of view on this?
Yeah. So I think it is not retailers who will going to delay on it in opening up a store, because there is a merchandise attached to it, which we have already planned if any planning happened on the store opening side. And there are different channels also which are working on it, like franchisees are also there. And as a company, Benetton, we work on a buy and sell model more. And in buy and sell, we sell the merchandise to the franchisee partners, and they will never going to delay. And if delay happened, the kind of impact that will create on the business, because the merchandise which is already been made for the season will not be used to the other season. So somehow we have to utilize it somewhere else. So what I see a challenge is more towards from the developer side, I say, and we being a BD guys, we have to coordinate more with the developers in the sense that if we create a platform wherein we interact more in terms of the project team, both the project team should project with each other, talk to each other very frequently, and they submit the docket along with the video or something like that, where they can understand, make them understand, because when the design and all comes in picture, so any new mall come in, they give a different briefing about the design docket. There are so technical aspect to it. Every time the new fire norms changes, so the project team has to be updated. Although they keep on doing it, but along with the docket, they should also submit the audio or video, so that it will be helpful for the other person whenever they are submitting the docket.
Yeah. So Lokesh, valid point. I think what we have, guys, here is an interesting panel. Left side is the developer side. Developer side, can you raise? Right side is the brand side. And in the front side, we have the front row on both sides. All right. After lunch, we want to make it more interactive.
Yeah, come here.
So our job is to make it more interactive and more fearful as well. So guys, let's speak your heart out, right? Let's gather more people, whoever having beer, tea, lunch, let them get here, right? Okay. So Lokesh, I agree, right? You have a pain point, but I would also like to understand from the developer fraternity, it's an open-ended question. how many stores in your mall open on time?
See, hello.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, see, it's a question of it is that how many stores open on a time. It has always been from decades and decades that what is the percentage of a mall should open at a single point. It's very difficult sometimes for a developer also. It's impossible to predict that the leasing is happening at one point and there are transactions which go through a certain processes of from LOIs to agreements to going to the fit out.
Right.
So sometimes it's very difficult to predict that a mall from when they start making it, when a developer start making it and the leasing starts happening on a floor plan and then the time is delivery. So let's presume everything happens 10 on 10, that the mall, whatever time we promised, it's delivered on time. But then there is a gap between the first transaction and could be the last transaction within that time. So it's very difficult to coordinate with the fit out period time. I have practically yet to see a mall, internationally or nationally, both, which can actually genuinely, on books maybe, yes, in forums like this we can discuss about a certain percentage of malls opening together. But the people who finish their fit outs well in time, they have this pain point that yes, we are the first ones and there are no footfalls. How do you bring footfalls? The developer says, you are my footfall. Like a retailer is supposed to bring the footfall. My developer, I can only build a mall, I can only give the services, I can give you the best services, the best car parks, the best facility management. Yes, it can be complemented by events and marketing and promotional activities, but yes, a developer is genuinely dependent on a retailer to bring the footfall. End of the day, जो कस्टमर है वो तो ब्रांड के लिए वहाँ पर आ रहा है, वो मॉल के लिए नहीं आ रहा. मॉल की अपनी आइडेंटिटी नहीं है, वहाँ जो ब्रांड्स हैं, जो ब्रांड मिक्स है उसकी आइडेंटिटी है, तो लोग उसके लिए आते हैं. सो इट इज़ वेरी डिफिकल्ट. वो जो एक सर्टन पहला जो टीदिंग प्रॉब्लम आता है, आई वुड से फ्रॉम फर्स्ट मंथ ऑफ फर्स्ट स्टोर ओपनिंग till first 1 year. So that becomes a learning thing from both a retailer also, what challenges do they face, and that also becomes a learning thing for a developer also, what challenges, even in operationally, could be parking, could be event, could be the first winter, could be the first rain, could be the first summer, the AC is working or not. So it's a very difficult thing to come to a point where you say, this is a perfect formula, this is a perfect book, how to make sure that the mall is launched with a certain fixed percentage, could be 85%, 75%, 65% or 50%. When we're negotiating, all developers, all retailers, all my friends sitting here, we know how hard we negotiated that, okay, the rent would started with a certain occupancy clause or something. But applicable ho nahi pata. This is what I feel.
Yeah. But the pain point is, So I understand what you're saying here, but from the retailer's point of view, the pain point is something else altogether. The retailer feels punished if he opens the store with the mall launch date because there is no crowd at all. Now, the one brand in a million square feet, or let's say 500,000 square feet mall, one brand cannot pull the consumer right in. There has to be a complete facility to be provided and complete environment to be created.
So yes, I think you have a very valid question to ask, and I think most of the developers sitting here and most of the retailers would also agree that there are always a support system. There is always a hand holding for till the boy becomes a man. Mm-hmm. And like at N3M, we do that. Like we make sure that when the brand opens and it's for an example, one of the brands, without naming it, opened at our 65th Avenue, which is 1 million square feet. So we are open towards giving a complete support to them to an extent of transactionally, when you look at it, does not matter whatever we negotiated on our agreement, we supported them for like a first 6 months, like a revenue share, no camp for first 6 months, as a marketing support, like distribution of their around 50,000 leaflets to make sure that people around that come.
You say developer support.
Yeah, that's a developer support. Yeah.
So brands, developers support. That's what I could make out very clearly. So from the brand side of it, we would also like to understand, I'm sure the retail has gone through a transformation in the last 2-3 years, and there's a great buoyancy in the market. And each brand is looking for a bigger space. Each brand is looking for double, triple digit number of stores growth. How do you think, is there some kind of an innovation you guys have done to ensure that the stores open on time, before time, and how are you ready? Sumit, Raghu, any one of you can pick up and definitely understand from your organization point of view, what is that new thing you have done?
So I don't think it's a new thing. We've always believed that malls are partners in crime, and if we have to succeed, they have to succeed, and vice versa. If they have to succeed, and So I don't think there is an intent issue over here, and our endeavor is to open with a new mall. But there has been so much of bloodbath in the last so many years when new empty malls open. Why would a consumer come to an empty mall is the biggest question. And while my friend Rana said that developers support, I fully agree they support, but it's not the rent or the cam which kills a brand or a retailer. It's the merchandiser, is the merchandise or the people cost. Because the merchant, and especially for fashion, if merchandise is on the floor and it does not sell, it's a huge cost, which the brand finds it difficult to recover, because ultimately they will have to sell it on a discount or on a promotion, which obviously is losing margins. So, I mean, I don't think we need to do anything new. While the intent is there from the mall side or the brand side to open the mall and the stores, we need to believe in the mall that they will open on a next date, and that is for the brands also. That it's not that who will start their fit outs first.
That's a very controversial topic.
Yeah, it's not that if bestseller has not started fit out, then I will not start work. Bestseller could have many reasons, not accounting to the launch date of the mall. Maybe they will catch up quickly, and for that goes for any other brand. At the end of the day, you need to understand that what value will that mall bring in if you open on time for yourself, for your consumer, and for the mall at the end of the day.
Right. I would take this point forward to Mr. Raghu here. So when it comes to doing a large format store in a mall versus a large format store on a high street, do you see the same challenges? I mean to say, when it comes to opening on time or delay from the mall or delay from the retailer.
Okay. See, the challenge remains the same whether you put it in a mall or in a high street, because there are certain external factors involved in from real estate, in terms of your connectivity for the power or various regulatory approvals, etc., and things like that. But what happens when it comes to a mall, the external issues or statutory things are taken care by the mall leasing teams. To a certain extent, we go by the credential of the developer and the reassurances, then we do it. When it comes to a high street landlord, it is always a tricky. We have to literally understand whether the gentleman is capable of getting it done, because there are some places the local clout also make things work. But being a large format stores and we being the anchor and the mini anchor, always we come under a lot of pressure from both on the developer side also, or even from the landlord side also. The landlord, once the moment he completes the structure, he doesn't want to even delay one day. He says that, please come, take over the fit out, and then, or give me the drawings, and then immediately I will do it. And it is all the more difficult for a fashion departmental store unless we get the proper structure is completed in terms of their back office, the services drawings or locations are identified, and do a proper measurement, then getting into multiple concepts, get the design scheme approved, and then we start giving it. So how do we actually bridge the gap? Right now, what we are doing is that we are approaching in 3 steps. One, especially when it goes to the new developer or a high street stores, we give them a complete manual of what is our expectation. When it comes to civil, MEP and things like that, we give them very clear understanding. This is what the company expects the specification to be delivered. It more easier understanding from the mall perspective because they are professional working around it. So it is easier. And when it comes to a high street landlords, you will always find that they only look at about a 5. They need a structural drawing and they need a CAD drawing and they need a column and beam layout. That's it. Rest everything he will say, sir, you give me your drawing, I'll get it done. Beyond that, they don't know. But once you give it to them, the way that they want to do it, they'll try to cut the cost. Then the delivery becomes a compromise. So what we are doing is that now we're putting a PMC, basically a coordinator for about 90 days, and we are taking it as a cost of our capex to ensure there is no delay happens or there is no mistake happens in their execution, right? And then from the mall side, we are looking at 3 steps. One, we give the developer scope of work in terms of civil first. Then immediately post that we give them the MEP because that's where the handshake has to take place with the mall engineering team and what we want. And then the long lead items we start providing them in advance so that it becomes more easier for us to go step by step arrangement. And internally what we are looking at, we are trying to make more and more the interiors modular. Like today, all our trial rooms have become completely modular, right? And we have a lot of standardization in terms of lighting. We have put the store grading into ABC, flagship store, standard store, and economy store. So all those things are all done and kept really ready so that we are able to at least avoid the friction. But the fact remains, when the year starts, always, we want to open X number of stores, but the quarter 4 comes, it will be only 60% or 75%. So there is always a pressure on loss of square feet of sales per day. No? That pressure continues. And coming to certain things from the developer side, what my point is that in a mall which is already established or the group which is established where the credentials are very high, the comfort levels are high. When it goes to a single new malls or where it is a investor driven model, right? Where it is at this stage of construction, it is sold and strata shed or it is a lease back and things like that. Definitely there is always the apprehension who will bring the eye first, what will happen. Lot of zonings have not been completed. There will be a parallel discussion, sir, aap sign kar lo, aap start kar lo, baki sab ho jayega. So that problem is also remains. So there has to be a clarity, at least 50 to 60% of the operational occupancy has to be ensured before they push the retailer to start the fit out, be it as a major anchor or a mini anchor. Otherwise, it's going to be, as Sumit was telling, it is not only the rent and cam. The operating cost and the merchandising cost of liquidation is going to be much, much larger and larger pain point because paying a pure revenue share, it is only going to be a very small thing. But that is where the developers have to be very clear. At least 60-65% of the area should be signed before they push the retailer to start the fit out.
I think, sorry,
go ahead.
Yeah, I think, I'm sure, I think he has a point. He says, not 60-65%. Before a mall launch, 90-95% of the malls is leased out, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, my friend, right?
Right.
For the panel, I've got 3 points to put up. One is a declaration. The declaration, I can assure all of you all are watching us and who all are sitting down. We are the politicians of the retail industry, this side and that side, opposition. We might be at loggerheads out here, but I can assure you, post 6 o'clock, we are the best of the friends. There's no difference between us.
Industry आप ही से चलती है, दोनों से चलती है, right?
Okay. Secondly, an experience I would like to share with all of you all. When it comes to mall developers, we don't actually have problem with the brands. The problem comes when a franchisee controls the brand, Everything is rooted to the franchisee. And especially I have faced this in tier 3, tier 2 towns or non-metro towns. the franchisee handles the brand completely. You know, he takes his time, he takes his time, where we also become helpless and the brand also becomes helpless. So this is one experience. I don't know how do we resolve this. One is a suggestion. I don't know how much all of you all will accept on this. Every mall which is about to be launched or it's in a launching stage, I think there has to be T- time for everything. And generally, when the mall is in a watertight and a airtight condition, generally the anchors start taking the fit outs. And I would suggest the first 25-30%, once the fit outs have been done by the anchors, it is the duty of the developers to call every brand that has signed on for a one-night stand at the mall.
Right.
You know, and you declare this is the anchor's position. Let us decide T- time. If we decide that 25th December हमको mall खोलना है, T-1, T-2, T-, all as a stakeholder, what should we do? And how should we start completing, and who all should be coming at what time to start the fit outs? The anchors people should be also there, the vanilla brands, everybody who's signed in, you know. And we should also sign off from the mall point of view, from the brand point of view, कि 25th December, if the mall doesn't open the, launch the mall,
on time,
every day they pay a penalty to the brands. Retailer.
That's
And if the brand doesn't open, every day they pay a
you anyway
fine to the
charge for
retailers.
that. We have to really struggle and get negotiation under the table.
So it's just a thought I'm sharing.
Yes,
but
yes.
The experience that I told you, it is real. It is a very a big pain point. I think the brand should help developing the franchises also to become more professional in handling the bout.
Actually, in other way, so when we talk about the franchisee part, I would like to throw some light here. See, when franchisee model, it's same like the inventory part. So most of the franchisee are on the billing model. It's like outright or SOR. The product is actually billed to the franchisee. So the pressure what the brand has, for example, of the inventory, that I have so much of inventory and I have to liquidate it within 90, 120, whatever days. Franchisee has the same issue.
Knows, okay, this is the date of opening of the mall. This is the date I need to open my store. The franchisee tells me, क्या करे, brand ने warehouse बंद कर दिया, मेरा सामान नहीं आ रहा है. मैं brand से पूछता हूँ, brand बोलता रहे, वो तो कब से हम लोग पीछे पड़े हुए हैं, बोलते तुम सामान ले लो, warehouse में पड़ा हुआ है.
I was the third one to open at Urban
Absolutely.
Square, and it was a franchisee store, by the way.
There are good franchisees, there are non-developed franchises. That's what it is.
I
Yes.
think what important point what he rightly mentioned is communicate effectively and communicate continuously when the mall is opening, and so that both the parties and true spirit partnership are always working together. So this is more from a side of view of the new mall which we've been touching upon, right? I would also like you to throw some lights on existing malls. How things happen in an existing mall and storefront. And I would also like to take some inputs from our expert panelists and consultants. Please, what are your views? Somebody was telling me in pre-session that you guys are the punching bag, but I don't know whether you are or not. None of us believe that you are the punching bag.
They're far away to be a punching bag. Take up the empty sink.
Hello. So it's essentially is about coordination. You're right that when the mall is operational, then we find that the pressure on the mall team is reduced. Most of the mall is occupied, and then there is a transition store that the brand comes in, and that time coordination from the mall side, the pressure from the mall side can be immense. The teams can really take it easy. I was just talking to Sumit about that. That the people on the ground, because when a mall is opening, it's the top guy speaking, and when the mall is operational and one or two stores are changing, it's eventually the rest of the team that we hear conversations between, the brand teams and the mall teams, and that can get really complicated for
Right.
very, very simple issues. I don't know who wants to take this.
NP?
Mr. Singh?
Just want to add something to it. We always talk about penalizing. Like, for example, he said that the mall should be penalized if he makes a mistake, and the retailer should be penalized if at all they delay the launch of their store. But I believe, out of my own experience, certain malls, they have actually rewarded the brands who opened up the first to an extent that it becomes so interesting for many others to follow through. So if the rewards are made interesting, I think it can work better than the penalizing.
What
Number
kind
one.
of rewards? Yes. Good one.
And that reward should be announced much in advance and must be emphasized very often.
Right.
And then keep sending the videos to the brand, the one who have not started. So, see, it's always who blinks the first. It's not that anybody's fault that the retailer is unknowingly they want to delay. Everybody wants to do a business. But what if I start and the other one is not? And it happens. See, we don't have time to go to the site so periodically. Not even my zonal manager has got time. So what happens is if there is a proactive information system put in place, which keeps giving the day-wise short videos, that if there were 5 stores and now it's 7 and then 9 and 11, and if you keep putting the clock on, create that excitement and keep reminding the reward. I'm sure out of 10 slightly at a snooze mode may turn into active mode, and probably the result could be better. So rewards, to my understanding, being a person of that thinking, I believe always that you look at the positive part of it, and that part of the coin works better than the flip side.
So carrot approach and a stick approach. Yeah.
Yeah, having said that, I do see this happening, or this practice is being done by many malls here in India already. So from a retailer's point of view, I would say that I am actually bombarded with the mails and the images of, this is opening today, this is opening next week, this is a scope of construction so far done. So it makes our life easier here. However, I think even after doing that, now that's a question back to the retailers, even after doing that, why do we go so slow again? When we see there are 15, 20, Sumit. Yeah. You counter.
Shriram, you can also counter Sumit.
Yeah.
The problem lies actually is that developers don't stick to the dates they commit.
Right.
Right. Today, you have to understand that you have to understand that this is a partnership.
Right.
And you can't tell us a date which is unrealistic.
Right.
वो शेयर आया वाली कहानी हो जाती है. शेयर कभी आता नहीं है और वो दुकान कभी खुलती नहीं है.
और दिवाली निकल जाती है.
Exactly. So that is the, in the last 15 years, at least with bestseller,
Yes.
no mall has opened on the date committed the first time. Because, it's purely that they will give an advance date, but yet they know that they will end up opening probably a quarter later.
Right. So, Sumit, we obviously talking on the developer side, there are a lot of other challenges on building a 2,000.
Boss, you know your mall. Boss, you know your mall
I'm not debating
36
with you.
months in advance. Before,
Can you also throw lights on the existing stores in an existing mall? I'm
he's
saying
dodging the
new mall.
question now.
I think So
what is the challenge with the existing stores in the existing malls?
So if you are getting into a new store in an existing mall, do you open on time? Or is there some innovation you have done to reduce the timelines? So as partnership, right, from 60, 90 days, but when we, correct me if I'm wrong, whenever the brands negotiate, it's always 60, 90 days. Have you reduced that? Have you done something different? Can we look at stores opening much in advance with anything, any new technology? And Shriram, if you want to also add something.
Then I can give you one answer, Rohit. A couple of stores which have opened recently in a mall which is operating, which has been fairly fully occupied. We were able to open the store on the 60th day, though normally we take a 90 days fit-out period of time. And the thing is that to a certain extent it becomes easier for a large format store or you're in a corner box. But definitely the challenge will be for the line stores where there is a lot of interdependencies and the adjacencies problems, etc. And then only night working you need to do and things like that. That's where the problem comes. Okay, of course, it's a smaller store. It can definitely be possible. But it's not that it is not possible. Only thing is both the mall projects team and the brand project team have to handshake. If both of them hand together, it is possible.
The solution for this also lies with you guys. You allow us 24/7 work, we'll open in 15 days. I can guarantee you that I will open in 15 days.
Absolutely. You're talking about the operating malls.
Operating
malls, right.
I think there is what we are talking about is synchronization. So if we are all in sync with what the timeline the developer has given and how that can be achieved from the retailer's point of view, at every milestone there is a communication, there is some sort of an important milestones which need to be created from the day the drawing starts getting built, from the start and it's getting vetted, and then finally the brand takes the shop for fit out. But problem over here is that, which we see regularly, because there is so much of interaction and there is to and fro which is happening between the brand and the developer, that there is a plan which the retailer has submitted. Developer has he has a team who would review the plan, he would review the ceiling design, who would review the branding design, and then finally give a go ahead that okay, this is works or this won't work.
Right.
So the developer is always pushing to make the store look beautiful. The brand is always trying to stick to their specifications and technicalities which they need to deal with. So I think from a point of both retailer and the brand and the developer, I think synchronization is something which probably help the whole process getting faster and error-free.
I agree, but I still feel that we are still missing a point somewhere here.
One point is very clear. The thing is, I'm also a real estate here to the group. Let's be honest. What happens till the time of signing of the LOI, there will be a very romantic period in both the teams. So, a brand want to take the property, they will be very happy. All the shakes will happen.
It's called the best foot forward.
Yeah. So, till the time the agreement registration, some bitterness will start because clauses will start discussing and negotiating.
Yeah.
When the execution happened, then the problem will start because we submit the thing and projects, the design, all the difference of opinion will start. Somewhere I feel that ultimately this, because it starts with BD, I should confess, but both the teams. So that's where some promises what we make to each other. Maybe we'll not be able to make it. When it comes to my field, we are into fitness. A very sad thing to happen in the Indian retail industry, because we want to go to the malls, we can't go to malls because it's not sustainable to us. First of all, आप ये कर देते हो, हमें कहीं दूर में एक corner में डाल देते हो. That's the biggest challenge. Second is our operation starts in the morning at 6 and the mall will start at 11. Operationally, it's not viable because our customer experience totally collapse.
Right.
So those challenges will come. That's the reason if you see nowadays we are getting a lot of queries related to the opening of Fitness First, Gold or Cult. But unfortunately, even though we want to go, that particular thing is not happening. And construction-wise also, all the construction parameter and the plates are actually uniform. Maybe in our requirement, the plate should be double or something like where the load and maybe vibration, sound, those things they absorb. Construction level also, that's it, it's not happening. And also, malls will take 4 to 5 years to construct also. So we don't have the ability to block it for long.
Right.
Somewhere I think we need to look into that thing because ultimately otherwise becomes a challenge. Maybe structurally giving a separate access to such formats. And all those things will really help so that it will become an integrated solution to entire field. That's what I think.
But I think I will take mall side here. So for example, there are early morning shows of cinema, right? So that time, we are not talking about 6 o'clock in the morning, but there are 7:30 shows, there are 8:30 shows.
So, just to add, what mall developers have done is we have kind of improvised. We've changed, right? The retail industry has changed. So for F&B, we ensure that we open till 1:30 a.m. in the night. In South Cinema, early in the morning, 6 a.m. show, we ensured. Fitness is new, malls are old. We will definitely look at fitness as a category and evolve that.
I think fitness mein
Rakesh, I visit Fitness First every morning at 7 a.m. at Select City Walk. So there is no problem.
Some malls definitely. So malls, we don't have issue.
If the mall understands,
that can be exception. But there are many developments which are happening. The provision is not there. And also let's be very honest with you. There is a visibility issue also. एक बार हमें corner में डालने को हमने पूछने वाले नहीं होते हैं. So those things also we have to look into. Right. It's a holistic solution. It can't be isolated.
Franklin, you.
But I think the design is now evolving. I think fitness category is something which makes the asset work a few more hours. Yeah. And I think if you are working few more hours, you're probably making your system more efficient.
It will work.
I have an apprehension that I've been hearing all of them for quite some time. I have been on the brand side over past 2 decades in the industry of retail BD and expansions. Even today I'm on the developer, it doesn't mean that I'm supporting the developers. See, what I would feel that the life cycle of any mall development goes through different leasing cycles. First, we try to endorse the hyper, followed by anchors. Then gradually the things come up to be a multiplex. Then gradually parallelly talk with the food court, and finally comes the vanillas. So the timelines are set for all these segments. It's just not that we want everyone to open at a time. Now, as rightly addressed by all of them in their vertical specializations, that okay, we normally take 120 days, some might take 130 days. Of course, there are hurdles in terms of external, government policies. Like if I talk about the scenario during the COVID, because of the pollution issues, the construction went on for hold for some time. But yes, but now since post the new normal, the fit out times are well declared, well segmentized, well, mentioned in each and every agreement clause as well, so that all the retailers has to understand that if we depict one segment of our category, we should be with the mall launch, because the anchor and the hyper maybe are the only brands who pulls the crowd and the other vanilla attractions. So over past 22 years of my journey into retail, BD, expansions, leasing, and numbers of projects across pan-India in all the different formats, whether it is COCO, FOFO, FOCO, I believe the major challenge which the brands as well as the developers are facing is to understand the timelines, which of course in metro cities there might be some challenges. In tier 2, tier 3 cities, the challenges are very different. So considering these factors, which all of us have really been trying to bridge, is the understanding of the flow pattern of the store right from the signing the deal till the opening. Once the lease or the project is signed from the day one, we have a clear vision in the mind that this mall is going to come in our list in 3 years down the line, which will be projecting in say quarter X or Y. Now, accordingly, my merchandise planning will start. My project team will start working on the execution portion, and by the time the project is on the verge of its building is able to be showcased, the things has to be aligned, and that is how I believe a mall can be successful as well as the retailer could be successful.
I'll just add a
Yes,
point
Arun,
there, Franklin.
yes.
Before I begin, so I think I'll reiterate one point that has been coming again and again, and I think I'm a firm believer of that the intent is always correct. Right. I think on both the sides, I would not disagree to that. But I think, Franklin, one thing what I've been observing also, see, timelines is very critical for both the retailer as well as the mall developer. Out of my own experience, without obviously any finger pointing, what I've always felt that is something which has been lacking and which can be worked more upon, I think, is a stronger transparency in the timelines and not probably just commitments. Because it has happened with me, while the retailers could also be defaulting on timelines for certain reasons, because it's but natural that a vanilla brand would look forward to an anchor opening, and then you would probably start fit outs, or look at your own zoning and looking at 3-4 brands starting fit out, then you would probably want to go ahead with it. But I think there have been instances when I've been looking at a mall timeline coming to me saying 1st of June the mall is expected to go live, and we would want the brands to go live with it.
Open.
But on 1st of March or April, if I visit the site, I can see it'll at least go to October or November.
Yeah.
And a month before the launch date, we get a mail that, okay, it's deferred to another 2 months.
Correct.
So it's okay for a delay to happen, I think, on both the sides. But what I feel on both the sides, it's equally important for a transparency to be there in the system. I think that helps a lot in aligning and streamlining things.
Arun, so this is like a little funny question here. What is the most common statement you get to hear from the malls when it comes to opening on time?
I only get to hear that the mall is scheduled to open on time. I think even a month before the delay is announced, I always get to hear that the mall is scheduled to open on time.
I get to hear that खोल लो बाद में देख लेंगे.
So again, that's where the whole thing gets stuck actually, because I think there's a lot more at stake than just the rental, which can be worked out easily.
We only know the month of the opening, not the year of the opening.
No, see, the challenge is here.
Challenge, yes.
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. See, in sync with whatever everyone's saying, but as a developer, the challenge I face, like apart from every theory, which like the hyper will open first and then an anchor will open first. So the pain point for a developer, I'm sure a lot of developers around here would agree, at least so when it comes to our thing, a center has 6 anchors, and each anchor puts a condition for a developer. If this anchor starts, then I will start my work. So who will bell the cat first? I don't have an answer. So what do I do in that situation?
Right.
The mall is ready.
Right.
But then obviously 6 anchors looking at each other, who will start first? What about the other 100 vanilla brands? They will look up to the anchors. So that's a catch-22 situation for us as a developer. There is nothing else except I can offer some support in the form. The support has to be only in the form of what I've already said it initially when I spoke. It has to be only in the form of where a person gets some kind of a relief on, it could be rentals, it could be CAM, it could be what else, or the marketing, what else a developer can do for a retailer.
Right.
If you actually look into that, what else can I do?
Right.
There is nothing practically I can do.
You have something else? What else developers can do? They support. They've been telling you that they support.
But I would like to just add a little bit on what Rana said. There is a sense of, a brand would always know that there is a sense of involvement from the developers' leadership. When, as an assurance, when they meet them, the most assuring activity is happening when a developer himself meets the brand and tells him that, okay, this is what he's planning to do and this is what he's expecting the brand to do. At that level, if the assurance is there, if it is just done from a team point of view or a leasing department point of view, that assurance is never transform in timelines and transforms in closure. But the moment there is a statement or an interaction which happens at that level, I think it comforts both sides very well.
So, we all have been brickbatting the other side, but we all understand there is pain on both sides.
Yes.
Malls don't open on time. Developers have a challenge that brands don't support the malls and open on time. But I'll put it in this way, that there are 3 stages to this in this relationship, which is true to any relationship. One is the wooing period,
right,
where everything is hunky-dory, ye bhi kar denge, wo bhi kar denge, please believe in us, we will deliver what we are promising today.
Right.
But during the wooing period, till the time the marriage happens,
right,
the courtship period is completely silence. The brands don't know what the developer is doing unless and until,
keep visiting.
a brand in his individual capacity goes and, visits.
Yeah.
And every retailer or every brand will have its own sense of deciding the opening date.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Obviously, there is some method to this madness, but at the end of the day, as long as the communication is right through the courtship period, we might not end up in a situation where we are opening the malls for the consumers half empty. The brands will start trusting the developers more on the realistic timelines, and the developer also has to start trusting the brand that when a brand says that they will open with the mall, they will open with the mall.
Perfect. Excellent.
I would like to add few things. When any developers, they market their project, especially at the stage wherein the building is ready, it's about to be launched, it creates a hype among the vicinity, among the competitors, among the other brands and the customers, that these are the brands which are going to come. So they have a lot of plans across. So the pain factor which I as a developer feel in these past couple of years I have been on the developer side, that despite of all supports, all rent-free fit-out periods, all support from a mall perspective, if the brands still don't open their stores, the zeal of the customer inflow in the mall, okay, this is the brand which is going to come in a vicinity, but it does not happen so maybe of any XYZ reasons. That gives a very wrong impression among the customer, base, because they are not there to understand the internal problems, whether it's on the developer side or it's on the brand side. If the brand doesn't come on the mall on the right time, they lose interest in such malls, which is going to create again a big issues for the upcoming projects and the brands too.
Good. So the screen shows time's up, and then I think we should stick to timeline here at least together. Sudhanshu, would you like to sum it up and share your point of view?
Yeah, sure. Audible? Yeah. So I think both these sides, right? There's been a marriage which has lasted years. I don't see this to be a reason why anything should break that, because they're, like Sumit said, they're partners in crime. I have rarely seen a brand say, I don't want to work with this mall, because if there is a national mall, they take it for granted. When I'm opening my new one, these are brands are already signed in. As much as they may be whining on stage, Shubhajit said, post 6, they're best of friends. So if they're coming up with a new mall, you can take it for granted. The anchors are already fixed, whether that store started on time, whether that mall was delivered on time or not. Right. One thing both sides need to understand, that it's a business relationship that they share. There is monetary benefit and loss on both sides.
And it's an ecosystem.
It's an ecosystem. So if the brands are starting on time, the malls have financial responsibility to their lenders. If the malls are getting delayed, there's merchandise loss for the brands. Yes. So I think if that mutual understanding remains, I think this is a relationship which is going to continue, right? So I don't see, as much as this bickering goes on, that there will be any relationship loss out here.
Absolutely. Juhi, would you like to add something?
With all the tech companies here at the show, I hope somebody takes this up as an opportunity. We probably need some kind of tech solution for communication, as many of the mall and the brand folks pointed out. I think it really is about a smooth communication, and like Arun said, there should be absolute transparency. So maybe this whole culture of Indian Standard Time, not really keeping to deadlines, if that's a culture that we can percolate down to the teams, where a deadline is a deadline and that is not going to shift. I'm sure everybody's intent is good, but if the mall can demonstrate once, and the brands can demonstrate once, I think then the standards are set. We just have to sort of shift the culture a little bit. That's what I feel.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Brilliant.
Thank you. So,
You close it?
yeah. So what I've learned so far here is that I think we need to have a correct process note of how the mall is progressing ahead, as well as the brand. We have to have a combined commitment to create that ecosystem together. We have to avoid partially planned development that आप शुरू कर दीजिए देख लेंगे. We have to avoid that, and we have to support the ecosystem together. I think that is what the whole conversation.
A couple of more points were transparencies, communication, regular communication. Developers do support brands innovating in terms of speeding up the store opening, standardization, which Raghu mentioned. These were great learnings, and last but not the least, we are friends not only after 6 p.m. we are during the day as well, but we are best of friends after 6 p.m. So let's continue that spirit. With that, thank you so much, guys, and thank you, audience, as well. A big round of applause to our esteemed panel.
Thank you.